Hi, it's Vex, and it's been a while, but here we have the top 10 cards of Wilds or Eldraine. And you might be asking, Vex, we've gone through like a million spoilers already. Wilds or Eldraine was like 2 years ago. But I'm committed to do my top 10, and I'm committed to not do it without the physical paper cards. I know a lot of digital people don't even own the cards to even do top 10s. They just take a wild guess. I like to have the cards, I like to play with the cards, I like to experiment with the cards. And it really helps just having the physical card with you. So, we're going to do spoilers here. This is a card that took forever to get right here. I opened like 4 boxes. No Agatha's Soul Cauldron at all. Then I ordered it, got lost in the mail, and I finally got it. So now, this is why we're super late. And, you know, this is only released last month, to be honest. It wasn't like 2 years ago, but it seems like 2 years ago because like 5 sets got released afterwards. And spoilers, this is number 1. But we'll get to that. Let's actually start off with our honorable mentions, which are these cards right here. We have Sir Ginger the Meal Ender, Candy Trail, and Tough Cookie. And these aren't good by far at all. These are just fun. They're fun and whimsical. Sometimes having fun cards is fun to have. Like you have Candy Trail as the first food clue, right? ETB Scry 2, you sack it, gain 3 life, and draw a card. It's a food clue. So I think it's really cool. And it's fun. So sometimes fun cards are powerful cards because I want to put it in decks because it's super fun. It's a food and a clue. You have Sir Ginger the Meal Ender, 2 generic mana. It has Trample, Hexproof, and Haste as long as your opponent controls Planeswalker, which, come on, it's Commander, and that probably never happens, so ignore that line. Whenever another artifact you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on Sir Ginger and scry 1. And then we have 2 tap, sack it, gain life equal to its power. It's a food because it's a food knight. 3/1. So I think it's pretty whimsical, pretty fun there. And then we have Tough Cookie. I think it's fun too, just a name. 1 green, artifact creature, food golem. When Tough Cookie enters a battlefield, create a food token. Tough Cookie comes with another piece of food, so it's 2 food for a price of 1. Then 2 and a green, target non-creature artifact you control becomes a 4/4 artifact creature until end of turn. Turns things into creatures, and then do the food thing. It's a 2/2. So just fun, whimsical cards. Now for the fun, we actually start off with number 10, Not Dead After All. This is the new one of these. There's a bunch of them. Undying Malice, Undying Evil, Malika Rebirth, etc. Black has tons of these. So 1 black instant. Until end of turn, target creature you control gains. Whenever this creature dies, return to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Then create a Wicked Roll token attached to it. So someone tries to kill your commander, you're like, it's not dead after all. Boom. It comes back with the Wicked Roll token. Don't forget to have your tokens here. So it's the top version. Enchant creature gets +1/+1, so die. It comes back with a +1/+1. Whenever this aura is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, each opponent loses 1 life, so maybe 3 life loss if you have 3 opponents. Good way to save your creatures. And basically, I think this deck, it goes into the modern scam deck, but it's a huge upgrade to all the other versions of it because it does the Wicked Roll token, and then also it is an aura to be bargained with the card that's coming up. And another thing is it's also does damage when it dies too. Again, moving on to number 9, we have Malleable Imposter, 3 in a, I was about to say green, 3 in a blue. Creature, fairy, shapeshifter, flash, flying. You may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature an opponent controls, except it's a fairy shapeshifter in addition to its other types and has flying. I love clones. I love my Paco Haldane deck, my Shakashima deck. I love stealing people's stuff, cloning things. So this does what? It doesn't copy your own creatures, but it's a flash. Right, there flashes in, copy your opponent's Dockside Extortionist, of course. I love flash clones because it surprises the opponent. They might have a Blightsteel. At end of turn, you make yourself a Blightsteel. It also has a flying, which is insane. You can attack with a flying Blightsteel Colossus. So having flying clones, flash and flying clones are very, very good. I think they have Dax Duplicate, which I think is really good. I think it's a flash clone. And I've used it to many success in my Vial Smasher deck. So this is a great card in the clone series. Now we have our number 8 card, the Iron Crag. And this is simple, right? 2 mana, legendary artifact. Tap, add 1 colorless. They have rarely make a 2 mana rock. Now, in the late game, 2 mana rock top decks suck. But you have another clause. When a legendary creature ETBs under your control, You may have this become a legendary equipment artifact named Everflame, Hero's Legacy, essentially Excalibur. If you do, it gains Equip 3, and equipped creature gets +3/+3 and loses all other abilities. Now, this lose all other abilities isn't part of the quote. It just loses its Mana Rock ability, and essentially becomes Excalibur. You equip it for 3, and the creature gets +3/+3. So, very good rock in the late game. You can play the rock, play your commander, play legendary creature, which you have tons of them, of course. That's how they print cards nowadays. And then this becomes Excalibur. It can be useful later in the game. So it's pretty neat there. Good in equipment deck, so you can ramp you and then turn the equipment later. All right, number 7. We have Misleading Signpost, another Mana Rock, which I really love. 2 in the blue, Flash. It's a Flash Mana Rock. I know, getting the Flash theme right here, of course. When Misleading Signpost ETBs during the Declare Attacker step, you may reselect which player or permanent target attacking creature is attacking. Then its regular abilities add blue. Okay, so it ETBs during the Declare Attackers after your opponents have declared attacks. You get to reselect one attacking creature. And, let's say somebody's attacking you with the Blightsteel, as we mentioned. You're like, nah, I'm a flash in my Mana Rock. Boom. Face it the other way. And then it still can tap for 1 blue to do something like counterspell or whatever. So I think it's pretty neat. I think this is one of the really interesting cards that I love when, people expect to do some things. And maybe sometimes they're expecting a counterspell, but they're like, I'm going to attack. They never expect, hey, the attack won't work because you're attacking somebody else. You could also make the creature, kind of attack into a bigger creature and then dies. So it could be a sewer removal spell right here. It's kind of neat. All right, number 6, we have Throne of Eldraine, the card, not the set, of course. The card is a 5 generic legendary artifact. Of course, everything's legendary nowadays, right? As Throne of Eldraine enters the battlefield, choose a color. Add 4 mana of the chosen color. Spend this mana only to cast monocolor spells of that color. Sounds like Gilded Lotus. Costs 5, but this makes 4 mana instead of 3. Then, of course, this is Wizards now. They have to have more abilities. 3 generic tap. Draw 2 cards. Spend only mana of the chosen color to activate this ability. So, where is this useful in? Of course, monocolored decks. This reminds me of Scepter of Eternal Glory? No, Eternal something? When I said that, I was confused because I was like, Eternal Glory Podcast? The Legacy Podcast? No. It actually is Scepter of Eternal Glory because I had to get it just to make sure. And this reminds me of this card right here. These go really well in monocolored decks. I love when Wizards prints cards that help monocolored decks out because, 5-color decks have no card restrictions and monocolored decks have tons of card restrictions because they can only use 1 color. So this really helps it out. It's basically very good monocolored decks. 2-color decks maybe if they lean 1 color, but basically monocolored decks. And it helps them ramp and card draw, 2 of the most powerful things in Commander. All right, let's move the Scepter out of the way and move on to our number 5 card. Talion, the Kindly Lord. I love this card too. 2 blue-black. I have the full art one because that's all I have opened. Legendary creature, Fairy Noble. Flying. As Talion, the Kindly Lord, enters a battlefield, choose a number between 1 and 10. When an opponent casts a spell with mana value, power, or toughness equal to the chosen number, that player loses 2 life and you draw a card. Now, the reason I like this a lot because it is a card that just sits there and is very innocent card draw. It's not like Ristic Study and scream at me like, oh my god, every spell I cast, the opponent's going to draw a card. It's like, hey, I put this down. I look at everybody's commanders. I see their mana values. I see their toughness, see their power. Sometimes, mostly 2 is a good number to choose. I choose that number, and every time they cast those things, I draw cards. And it's not really a big target because it's like, it doesn't draw cards all the time. So I love these subtle cards that give you very good card advantage that aren't like screaming, Ristic Study, kill me now, kill the player now, or the game's over. Our next card here, number 4, Stroke of Midnight. So this is like a generous gift variant. Same casting cost, 2 and a white, instant. Destroy target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a 1/1 white human creature token. So you play this, you destroy something non-land, give them a 1/1 human creature token. In exchange, the generous gift gives you a 3/3 elephant. And yes, a 3/3 is hugely different than a 1/1 token because 3/3s, I've been killed by those 3/3s from Terrestron, Beast Within, Generous Gift. So give him a smaller creature, except for the trade-off is you cannot destroy lands. I think this is good depending on your deck. If you can't destroy lands, I put Generous Gift in there. If you can destroy lands, or you already have Generous Gift, and Stroke of Midnight is really good. So this card is a really good card. Supplements or replaces Generous Gift depending on your meta, depending on your situation. Like if you're playing in a budget deck against other budget decks that don't have very powerful lands like Gaia's Cradle and such, Nykthos, then this is much better. But you're playing with high-powered decks that have crazy lands like Field of the Dead and stuff, Generous Gift is much better. So it just depends on your meta, depends on what your deck is made of, but this is a very, very good card. All right, number 3. Moonshaker Cavalry. 5 white. That sounds like Craterhoof Behemoth mana. Creature, Spirit Knight. Flying, I love that. When it ETBs, creatures you control gain flying and get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. That's very similar to Craterhoof, except for Craterhoof gives you trample, but this gives you flying, evasion. This does not have haste, which makes it a little less powerful than Craterhoof. However, it's in white, which makes up for it because white has now a very, very strong finisher in Moonshaker Cavalry. All right, number 2, we have Beseech the Mirror. 1 black. So in the black heavy deck. Now this isn't like generically good like Stroke of Midnight. Let's see here, Not Dead After All. This is just very powerful in the right deck. Bargain. You may sacrifice an artifact, enchantment or token as you cast this spell. You sacrifice the human, the Wicked Roll token, or these artifacts if you want to. Search your library for a card, exile it face down, then shuffle. If this spell was bargained, you may cast the exile card without paying its mana cost. If the spell's mana value is 4 or less, put the exile card into your hand if it wasn't cast this way. So you can play this as a Diabolic Tutor, which with 1 extra black, 4 mana value total, same as Diabolic. Get Moonshaker Cavalry, put it in your hand. You could play it as Beseech the Mirror version. You could sack something. You can get, let's say, a clone or an Iron Crag or wherever else you need, Rhystic Study, of course, into your hand or into exile to cast it right away. So this, or Toxic Deluge if you need that, you can get it and cast it right away. So I think this is extremely strong. Would I replace Demonic Tutor with this? It depends on the deck. If it's a high token deck or aura deck, Beseech the Mirror is good. If it's like doesn't have those things to bargain, it's not as good as Demonic Tutor. So it depends on the deck composition, but I think it's very powerful because you get it and cast it. So Demonic Tutor plus Toxic Deluge is 5. Beseech the Mirror is 4 with Toxic Deluge. You do have to sack something, but you're doing Toxic Deluge. You're gonna lose stuff. So that is number 2. Number 1, which took forever to get, as we mentioned in the beginning of the video, is Agatha Soul Cauldron. Now, this is number 1. It is the most expensive Throne of Eldraine. If you see here, I do have the Mac Daddy version, the extended art foil. This is going into my Atraxa deck, my +1/+1 counter deck, of course, because it's naturally good in there. Let's actually read the card. 2 mana value, 2 generic, legendary artifact, as with everything. Is everything legendary? This is not legendary. Legendary. Everything's always legendary now. You may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to activate abilities of creatures you control. Creatures you control with +1/+1 counters on them have all activated abilities of all creature cards exiled with Agatha's Soul Cauldron. So you play this, and it grants all your creatures with +1/+1 counters abilities that things that you've exiled with this. Now, how do you exile? Last clause. Exile target card from a graveyard. When a creature card is exiled this way, put a +1/+1 counter target creature you control. So do we have a creature here with an activated ability? No, we don't, of course not. We do. Tough Cookie. Right here. If this is in your graveyard, you could tap this, exile this. I usually put it under the Soul Cauldron. Put +1/+1 counter on a creature. Let's say Moonshaker Cavalry. Sounds like a good creature. Put +1/+1 counter on. Boom. Now it has the ability of Tough Cookie. If you need to sack, pay 2, tap, sack it, gain 2 life. That's an interesting ability, of course. I love having this with Scavenging Ooze, so you can exile more things. This is Graveyard Hate, and this is insane because it just takes. I love things that just take your opponent's abilities and put them on your creatures. What I mean is I love things that make the game more variable. Like instead of playing the same game over and over again, if you're playing, a CEDH deck that wins with Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Consultation, doing things over and over again, I love the variance that it adds to games because, you know, you don't know what your opponent has. You could take your opponent's creature, like their Yawgmoth and stuff, put it under here and get these cool abilities with Agatha's Soul Cauldron. And did I mention I love Graveyard Hate? Because I love Graveyard Hate. This is Graveyard Hate too. Somebody's reanimating something, you're like, no. I got you. Boom. Get that Villas out of there. Get that Razakath out of there. You know what? I will now have Demonic Tutor powers with Razakath. That's why it's there. Anyways, those are my top 10 cards of Throne of Eldraine. This is number 1. This is the best card by an insane margin. I know this is a finisher here. These are all good cards, but it does everything. It grants abilities, does Graveyard Hate, and it lets you activate abilities, you know, with mana of any color, which, you know, I forgot that existed actually because I'm so focused on the last 2 lines that the first line almost non-existent to me. Anyways, if you have any differing opinions, leave them in the comments below. But if you have the same opinions, give me a thumbs up, smash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell to be alerted for future videos. And you know, if you have different opinions, just subscribe anyways as well. And as always, have a wonderful day.